When Ed Sheeran started and he talks about sleeping on sofas, it was ours. Like, yeah, can you fly to New York on Monday to film Missy Elliott? And I was like, sorry, what?
Favourite 3?
Ultimately, Raheem Sterling. We are spilling the tea.
Hey, this is Spill the Tea. I'm Laura. This is
Carly Cussen, hello.
What does Carly Cussen do?
I was about to say a music video director. I'm a creative director now. I was a music video director. I am. Oh God, that was horrible and clunky. Sorry about that. Let me start again. I'm Carly Cussen and I'm a creative director of Playmaker Films.
Amazing. Let's go. Let's spill some tea.
What am I doing?
So what do you get up to on a day-to-day then? What's your job?
At the moment, it's very different to what it's ever been before. At the moment, I'm building Playmaker Films as a creative studio, but I'm also doing a lot more creative direction for sports stars and artists and, you know, musicians and influencers.
And where did you start out? What's your backstory into this career?
When I was around 5, I thought I was going to be an actress because I was very singy, dancey, jazz hands. And I went to school and I was really good in school. I've always been a great student, but I was dyslexic. And at the time, I don't think they realised I had ADHD. Because I wasn't naughty, it never got sort of really looked into. So they just said, oh, she's just dyslexic. So even though I was really good, I wasn't very good academically. And then I was always writing scripts and stories and new world in the backs of my books. So the one time I got in trouble was the science teacher was like, right, we need to chat. What's this? And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I've got these ideas. And he was like, okay, this is not for science. But he then took my book to my English teacher who was like, this is so badly written, but it's great. Let's take it to the drama department. My drama teacher was like, she's a creative. This is her world. So they pushed me into like directing the school shows and doing like all singing, dancing, jazz hands. I was around 11 or 12 when I watched a behind the scenes. I think it was Star Wars. And I realised, I don't want to be an actress. I want to make the world. So I need to figure out this. But I lived in a council estate, so I didn't have any access to anyone that knew anything close to this world. So my mum was like, we can try, we can do what we can, keep watching the behind the scenes of things. I failed everything in school. Even though I studied and I tried really hard and I revised, apart from drama, which I got an A star. And they were like, right, we'll try and channel this. But simultaneously, the school system was sort of saying, when they were pushing out the jobs, they were saying like, oh no, you should be I think I was a nurse or a social worker. And I was like, no, I want to be a movie director. And it was really hard because no one knew how to do that. Yeah. When I was 16, I took myself off to Pinewood Studios. Back then, it didn't have anywhere near the same security. So I got on and was like, oh, I'm a runner. So I'm just taking tea orders. And I used to write like people's tea and what they liked coffee-wise or drink-wise. And I'd be going around with my drinks. And when I knew what you wanted, so like I'd ask what I now know is the DOP and the grip. Yep. I'm getting their favourite drinks. So next time I'm bringing the drink, I'm like, so what do you do? What's that piece of equipment? What's that equipment and how does that work? And I was just learning on.
So you snuck onto the sets.
Yeah, and my
broke
arms.
Through security.
Yeah, I looked like I had full sleeves of tattoos where I'm writing information on my hands. And then my nan bought me a camera for I think it was my 16th or 17th birthday. And I sat down with my friend. And we were like, right, we're going to make a music video. This new channel has opened up on TV and they allow like DIY homemade videos. We can put it on there. And so we like put together this concept and I asked my mum to borrow her car. I borrowed my granddad's taxi. I borrowed my friend's dad's restaurant, houses, everything I could. And we made this video and it blew up on TV. And he was an artist called Tempah. And so he blew up. And off the back of that, this kind of new channel was like, who are you and what are you doing? You should come and join the channel. And I was a teenager. And I was like, doing what? He was like, making our stuff, like making our visuals. I was like, yep, okay. And me and my friend Dan, Digital Dan, joined this channel and just spent like 3 or 4 years making music videos and TV shows. We were building a kind of platform for independent artists to showcase their work. And it just blew up.
In a new world of YouTube and TikTok,
This was way before all of that.
You're getting into channels, and
it was so hard. And there was only one. It was Channel U. It was on 367 on Sky, and that was the only channel that you could put your own. Like, it wasn't big labels and big budgets. And then came along YouTube, and we were like, right. And that was the sort of downfall of Channel U, essentially. And then YouTube came about, and everything was online and accessible on there. So the world changed again. It's nice tea.
Oh, lovely stuff. You mentioned Tiny Tempah there. Who else have you worked with, and who's your favourite?
Oh, gosh. I've been so lucky. Because of Channel U. I was lucky to be around all like the UK British artists growing through their careers. When Ed Sheeran started and he talks about sleeping on sofas, it was ours. And I made a video called Pow for a guy called Bizzle, which that slowly become iconic. And off the back of that, I got a phone call from Sony. And the commissioner said, your show reel does not justify you doing this, but we want you to do our Little Mix video. I was like, yes, of course. And he was like, don't mess it up, because this is your break. And me and my friend Amalia produced this video, and it was so surreal, because even though Channel U was huge and I was eventually doing big videos, they weren't anywhere near the sort of commercial level. We were really, really nervous, but we did this video for them, and it was awesome. We had the best time. And I fell in love with Little Mix, and I really liked working with them. But the surrealness after the shoot, they came over to us and they were like, did you have a great shoot? The commissioner was like, yeah. I hope the girls really love it. And they were like, yeah, can you fly to New York on Monday to film Missy Elliott? And I was like, sorry, what? Sure. I grew up on Missy Elliott videos, so you can imagine I was like, this isn't real for
Extreme excitement.
Like, so wild. And then get there, and like Missy Elliott's like really there. Like, wow, this is surreal. The most mind-blowing thing was I thought she was going to say to me, and quite rightly, I'm going to do me, you do you, we'll see what happens. But she didn't. She was like, what do you want me to do? And I was like, I thought you knew. And she was like, well, just, tell. And I was like, oh my God, I've actually got direct now. This is like the first time that I'm actually telling somebody to, and I did her verse for her, and she was like, that was great, you should do it. And I was like, no, please, you do it, and we'll just film this and it'll be amazing. It was one of the best days of my life. And she was so wonderful. And then she said, at the end, she was like, I'm really sorry, I've got to go soon because I've got my friend's party. And we were like, yeah, no worries. Next day in the headlines, it was like Timberland had a big party in New York. Everyone was there. I was like, we could have gone.
You could have snuck in.
We could have snuck in.
You're good at that.
Tell us. And she was lovely to work with. But I've been able to work with so many people that are wonderful. I could probably just talk forever about all the different talent.
3 celebrities, your favourite 3. Who are they?
That I've worked with.
Yes, that you've worked with.
That I've worked with.
Come on, name drop.
My favourite ever artist to work with is Gets. And some people might not know who Gets is. He's a rapper, but he's so creative and so fun and so expressive. Love him. Love Keke Palmer. I have never seen somebody work so hard in my life. And like on set, when she messes up, she's like, no, again, let's push through. Again, she works herself to a bone, and I think she's awesome. Her energy around everybody is wonderful. But ultimately, Raheem Sterling, who is not even an actor, artist, musician, he's just a sports star, but he's awesome. We took him really, really right out of his comfort zone, and he was so good to work.
Yeah.
He's so fun to work with, which is unexpected.
He's a superstar.
Yeah, he really is.
So we are in a crazy, crazy world right now. The advance of social media, the TikTok, YouTube, and I think a lot of talk around the attention economy. What's your take on all of this?
Particularly in the advertising world, it's so hard. There's the death of TV, not the death of TV, but the semi-death of TV means that brands are advertising to your your hand, your phones. And we all know that we want to be entertained by our phone. So when we're scrolling, we're looking for entertainment. And I feel like everybody is trying to impact you, right? And to create impact, to get your attention. And then holding it is a changing matter. Years ago, we're all in front of the same 5 channels on TV. We are getting fed the adverts between our X Factors and our, Celebrity Jungles and all these things. And you're sort of forced to watch those. Now there is no force, it's what you, the consumer, decide to watch. Brands need to leave you with an emotion. That's just gonna become harder and harder. I feel for brands at the moment, they're all fighting for your brain space, right?
It's interesting, I think brands are potentially have lost a little bit of confidence in this space, some of them, and kind of...
It's new, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a new world.
Don't quite understand how to connect, how to kind of understand the nuance of audiences, how to engage in a way that's just not kind of in their face. And I think we should hopefully see that turnaround, as in getting their confidence back, being vanguards, driving the trends, rather than just... and understanding when to jump on a trend and not to jump on a trend.
Yes, yeah.
And actually be driving it. I think there's been a bit of a step back from brands.
There's a lot of fear as well, isn't there, on
getting it wrong.
Yeah. And so a lot of stuff is being played very safe because people are scared of getting diluted
which diminishes the entertainment factor, which is the lack of an emotional connection.
Exactly.
So they're losing.
Yeah. It's just changing so fast. It's a matrix.
Are you Team Edward or Team Jacob?
Jacob forever. I remember years ago. Yes, Jacob. Oh, yes. Edward.
Leah is in shock over there.
Oh, Team Jacob for sure.
And if you could say out to any of the next generation wanting to do what you're doing, having gone on that journey that you have and built some incredible businesses and working with incredible people and great partners, what would you say? What do you say to these who just feel like...
What I used to say 15 years ago has changed a lot now because it wasn't as accessible 15 years ago. Reading, and absorbing as much information as you can in and around your journey. That's always going to come back threefold. I always say that. And I always think that practicing your art on your phone, there's so many apps now, like wow, this is so accessible. 20 years ago, there was no world in which you could do that. When I started, I was on a JVC GY-HD 101 mini DV cassette. And it was that manual, put the tape in, press record, Tinie, stand there, I'm gonna record you. Now, I can get a better image just from my phone. And with it being accessible, lots of people are doing it. So finding your art and not being afraid to get hands-on consistently. There's no world in which you can sit back and think, oh, I can do that, and there's only 2 steps to it. It's a really saturated market. For me, I think you've got to constantly be refreshing your mind, like a Google search of information, and go back to books, go back to old films, go back to old art. There's so much in the past as well that can inspire you.
Really important question.
Yes.
What's your favourite tea?
I think ultimately a builder's tea, but I want to be really snazzy and say I like milky oolong, the green tea. I've only had it twice, but it's really nice, and I just want to sound like I know more teas than just a builder's tea.
That was awesome. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you.
And that's us spilling the tea.
We spilt the tea, by the way.